Have you ever wondered why your joints feel so stiff when you first wake up? Why that dull ache in your knees or shoulders seems worst in the morning, before you've even had your coffee? You're not alone in this struggle. Millions of Americans over 50 wake up to this same reality every single day. And many believe it's just part of getting older. But here's what I want you to understand. That morning stiffness isn't just about age. It's about inflammation. And more specifically, it's about what you're eating for breakfast. I'm going to share something that might surprise you. The first meal you eat each morning has more power over your inflammation levels than almost any other factor you can control. Within an hour of eating breakfast, your body begins producing molecules that either calm inflammation or make it worse. And if you're currently eating toast with jam, a bowl of sugary cereal, or a muffin with your coffee, you're unknowingly setting yourself up for a day of increased pain and stiffness. Research from major medical institutions shows that people who consume anti-inflammatory foods at breakfast experience less joint pain, better mobility, and improved overall well-being. Some report significant improvements within just a few weeks of changing their morning routine. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 morning foods that work with your body's natural systems to reduce inflammation. These aren't exotic superfoods or expensive supplements. They're real foods you can find at any grocery store, and they're backed by solid scientific research. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to eat tomorrow morning to start turning down that inflammatory response. But before we dive into the specific foods, let me paint you a picture that might feel familiar. You wake up around 6 in the morning. Your back is stiff. Your knees hurt as you swing your legs out of bed. You shuffle to the bathroom, moving slowly because your body needs time to loosen up. By the time you reach the kitchen, you're already feeling defeated, and the day has barely begun. Now imagine a different scenario. You wake up with less stiffness. Your joints feel looser. You move more easily. That's the difference that strategic food choices can make, and breakfast is where it starts. Here's something fascinating that scientists have discovered. Your body's inflammatory response follows a natural rhythm throughout the day. Inflammation markers are typically highest in the early morning hours. That's why so many people with arthritis or other inflammatory conditions feel worst when they first wake up. This morning spike in inflammation is actually the perfect window for intervention, because what you eat during this time has an outsized effect on your inflammatory state for the rest of the day. Let's talk about the first food that can make a real difference. I'm talking about fatty fish, specifically salmon, mackerel, or sardines at breakfast. Now I know what you're thinking. Fish for breakfast sounds unusual. But hear me out, because the science behind this is remarkable. These fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA. Your body uses these fats to produce specialized molecules called specialized pro-resolving mediators. These molecules don't just reduce inflammation, they actively help resolve it. They signal your immune system to dial down the inflammatory response and begin the healing process. Recent research published in major nutrition journals confirms that omega-3 supplementation significantly reduces inflammatory markers, including C-reactive protein, which is a key indicator of inflammation in your body. Studies focusing on people with inflammatory conditions show that regular omega-3 intake is associated with less morning stiffness and improved joint function. Here's the practical part. A 3 to 4 ounce serving of wild-caught salmon contains about 1 to 2 grams of omega-3s, which is a therapeutic dose. You can bake, broil, or pan-sear it. Season it simply with lemon, herbs, salt, and pepper. Pair it with eggs or vegetables for a complete breakfast. If salmon feels too expensive or you're not a fish person, canned sardines work beautifully. Mash them on whole grain toast with a squeeze of lemon. They're affordable, shelf-stable, and pack the same anti-inflammatory punch. For those who prefer plant-based options, ground flaxseed is an excellent choice. 2 tablespoons mixed into oatmeal or a smoothie provides alpha-linolenic acid, which your body can partially convert to the active omega-3 forms. Walnuts are another solid option, with a 1/4 cup delivering a good dose of plant-based omega-3s. The key is consistency. Omega-3s need to be consumed regularly to build up in your cell membranes and exert their anti-inflammatory effects. This isn't a one-time fix, it's a daily practice. Now let's move to the second food, And this one has been used medicinally for thousands of years. I'm talking about turmeric, and specifically, incorporating it into a morning beverage. Turmeric contains curcumin, a compound that has been extensively studied for its anti-inflammatory properties. A meta-analysis examining dozens of randomized controlled trials found that curcumin supplementation significantly reduces inflammatory markers, including tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin-6, and C-reactive protein. Studies on people with knee osteoarthritis have shown promising results. Research suggests that curcumin extract can lead to meaningful improvements in pain and function over several weeks of use. Some studies have found these effects comparable to certain over-the-counter pain medications. Here's the important part about turmeric. Curcumin on its own has poor absorption. Your body doesn't easily take it up from the digestive tract, but there are two simple tricks that dramatically increase absorption. First, combine turmeric with black pepper. Black pepper contains piperine, which has been shown to increase curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. That's not a typo. Black pepper makes that big a difference. Second, consume turmeric with fat. Curcumin is fat-soluble, meaning it needs dietary fat to be properly absorbed. So here's how to make this work at breakfast. Create what's sometimes called golden milk. Warm 1 cup of milk, dairy or non-dairy, in a small saucepan. Add 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon for flavor, and optionally a small piece of fresh grated ginger. Heat gently for about 5 minutes, then sweeten with a teaspoon of honey if desired. Drink this first thing in the morning, ideally before eating. The fat in the milk plus the black pepper ensures you're actually absorbing the curcumin. The cinnamon and ginger provide additional anti-inflammatory compounds. Give it at least a few weeks of daily use before judging results. Remember, this is working at a cellular level to modulate inflammatory pathways. You're not going to feel dramatically different after 1 cup, but by week 3 or 4, many people notice that morning stiffness is less severe and lasts for a shorter time. The third food might already be in your refrigerator, and it's one of the most researched anti-inflammatory foods available. I'm talking about berries. Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. Berries are packed with compounds called anthocyanins. These are the pigments that give berries their deep colors, and they're remarkably powerful anti-inflammatory agents. Research published in agricultural and food chemistry journals shows that berry consumption is associated with reduced inflammatory markers in human studies. The anthocyanins in berries work by modulating inflammatory signaling pathways at the cellular level, including the NF-kappa B pathway, which is a master regulator of inflammation. Clinical studies on people with metabolic conditions have found that regular blueberry consumption leads to decreases in inflammatory biomarkers and improvements in vascular function. One study found reductions in blood pressure and arterial stiffness after several weeks of daily blueberry intake. The beauty of berries is their versatility. 1 cup of mixed berries provides a substantial dose of anthocyanins, along with fiber, vitamins, and other beneficial plant compounds. Add them to oatmeal. Blend them into a smoothie. Eat them fresh alongside eggs and salmon. Top yogurt with them. Mix them into cottage cheese. The preparation method doesn't matter as much as consistent daily consumption. Frozen berries are just as nutritious as fresh, sometimes more so because they're frozen at peak ripeness. They're also more affordable and convenient. Keep a bag in your freezer and you'll always have anti-inflammatory ammunition ready. 1 cup per day is the target. That's roughly a handful. It sounds simple, almost too simple to be effective, but the research shows that this modest daily intake of berries leads to measurable improvements in inflammatory status over time. Now for the fourth food, and this one might be the easiest of all to incorporate. I'm talking about green tea, specifically matcha green tea. Green tea contains a compound called epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG. This is one of the most potent anti-inflammatory plant compounds that scientists have identified. Research shows that EGCG inhibits pro-inflammatory enzymes and suppresses the activation of inflammatory genes. Studies on people who drink green tea regularly show lower levels of inflammatory markers in their blood. Animal and cell research suggests that EGCG may be beneficial for various inflammatory conditions, though more human research is needed to confirm specific therapeutic effects. Matcha is particularly interesting because it's made from whole ground tea leaves rather than steeped leaves. This means you're consuming the entire leaf, not just what seeps out into the water. As a result, matcha provides significantly more EGCG and other beneficial compounds per cup compared to regular green tea. 1 teaspoon of matcha powder whisked into 8 ounces of hot water gives you a concentrated dose of anti-inflammatory compounds. You can drink it plain or add a splash of milk and a touch of honey if you prefer. Some people mix matcha into smoothies or stir it into oatmeal. Green tea does contain caffeine, though less than coffee. Matcha typically has about 70 milligrams per teaspoon, compared to 95 milligrams in a cup of coffee. The caffeine in matcha is often described as providing calm focus rather than jittery energy, partly because matcha also contains L-theanine, an amino acid that promotes relaxation. If you're sensitive to caffeine, start with half a teaspoon and see how you feel. You can also opt for decaffeinated green tea, though it will contain less EGCG than regular versions. The key with green tea is making it part of your morning ritual. Have it after your golden milk or alongside your breakfast. Just avoid drinking it with your omega-3 rich fish or walnuts, because the tannins in tea can interfere with absorption of certain nutrients if consumed at exactly the same time. Space them out by 20 to 30 minutes. The fifth and final food is probably the most practical and accessible of all. I'm talking about nuts, specifically almonds, walnuts, and pistachios. Nuts are nutritional powerhouses. They provide healthy fats, protein, fiber, vitamin E, magnesium, and various other beneficial compounds. What makes them particularly valuable for inflammation is the combination of these nutrients working together. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant that helps protect cells from inflammatory damage. Magnesium plays a role in regulating immune function and inflammatory responses. The fiber in nuts feeds beneficial gut bacteria, which produce short-chain fatty acids that have anti-inflammatory effects throughout the body. Large-scale epidemiological studies have found that people who eat nuts regularly have lower rates of chronic inflammatory diseases and lower mortality rates overall. One major long-term study following over 100,000 people for 30 years found that daily nut consumption was associated with significant health benefits. Research on people with metabolic conditions shows that adding almonds to the daily diet leads to improvements in inflammatory markers and insulin sensitivity over several weeks. The practical recommendation is a quarter cup of mixed nuts per day. That's about a small handful. You can eat them on their own, sprinkle them over oatmeal or yogurt, or incorporate them into a breakfast bowl with berries and seeds. Buy raw or lightly roasted nuts without added oils or heavy salt. If you want to enhance their digestibility and flavor, you can lightly toast them yourself in a dry pan for a few minutes. Variety matters. Different nuts provide different nutrient profiles. Almonds are particularly high in vitamin E. Walnuts provide omega-3 fats. Pistachios offer good amounts of protein and fiber. Mixing them together gives you a broader range of anti-inflammatory compounds. Now let me address something crucial. These 5 foods work best together, not in isolation. Think of inflammation like a fire. You wouldn't try to put out a fire by addressing just one part of it. You'd approach it from multiple angles. The same principle applies here. Each of these foods works on different inflammatory pathways. Omega-3s produce specialized pro-resolving mediators. Curcumin blocks certain inflammatory signaling molecules. Anthocyanins modulate inflammatory gene expression. EGCG inhibits inflammatory enzymes. Nuts provide antioxidants and beneficial fats. When you combine them in one comprehensive anti-inflammatory breakfast, they work synergistically. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. Here's what a practical anti-inflammatory breakfast might look like. Start with your turmeric golden milk. While that's warming, prepare your main meal. Bake or pan-sear a piece of salmon, or use canned sardines. Scramble or poach a couple of eggs. Add a side of sautéed spinach or other greens. Top everything with a handful of mixed berries and a quarter cup of chopped walnuts. Brew your matcha green tea. The entire meal takes 15 to 20 minutes to prepare. It provides omega-3s, curcumin, anthocyanins, EGCG, vitamin E, magnesium, fiber, protein, and healthy fats. You've just given your body a comprehensive anti-inflammatory protocol with real food. Some people worry about the cost. Yes, wild-caught salmon is more expensive than cereal, but canned sardines are very affordable. Frozen berries cost less than fresh. Buying nuts in bulk reduces the per-serving price. And when you consider the potential to reduce pain medications, doctor visits, and lost quality of life, the investment pays off. Others worry about time. But breakfast doesn't have to be elaborate. Hard-boil eggs in advance. Keep canned sardines on hand. Buy frozen berries. Prep golden milk ingredients so you can make it quickly. Many of these foods require minimal preparation. The most important thing I can tell you is this: give it time. Inflammation built up in your body over years, possibly decades. You're not going to reverse it in 3 days. Most people start noticing subtle improvements within 1 to 2 weeks. Less intense morning stiffness, slightly better energy. But the really significant changes typically happen between weeks 4 and 8. That's when people report meaningful reductions in joint pain, noticeably improved mobility, better sleep, clearer thinking, and an overall sense of feeling more like themselves. You need to commit to 60 days. Track how you feel. Keep notes on your pain levels, stiffness duration, energy, and overall well-being. By the end of 2 months, you'll have clear evidence of whether this approach is working for you. Now, I need to be clear about something important. This information is educational, not medical advice. If you have inflammatory conditions, don't stop or change any prescribed medications without consulting your doctor. These foods can work alongside medical treatment, not as a replacement for it. Some people will need to be cautious with certain foods. If you're on blood thinners, talk to your doctor before dramatically increasing omega-3 intake. If you have a ragweed allergy, check about curcumin. If you're taking medications that are broken down by the liver, green tea in large amounts might interact. Always discuss significant dietary changes with your healthcare provider, especially if you have existing health conditions or take medications. Also, remember that individual results vary. Some people respond more dramatically to anti-inflammatory foods than others. Genetics, gut health, stress levels, sleep quality, and other factors all play a role in inflammation. Food is powerful, but it's one piece of a larger puzzle. Let's recap what we've covered today. Start your mornings with omega-3 rich foods like salmon, sardines, or walnuts to help your body produce inflammation-resolving molecules. Include turmeric in golden milk, prepared with black pepper and fat for optimal absorption. Add a cup of mixed berries to deliver anthocyanins that modulate inflammatory pathways. Drink matcha green tea for a concentrated dose of EGCG. And incorporate a quarter cup of mixed nuts for vitamin E, magnesium, and beneficial fats. This combination creates a powerful anti-inflammatory effect that can help reduce morning stiffness, ease joint pain, and improve your overall sense of well-being. If this information has been valuable, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to this channel. I release new videos every week specifically designed for people over 50 who want to take control of their health through natural, evidence-based strategies. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 5 foods you're planning to add to your breakfast first. Are you going to try golden milk? Add berries to your oatmeal? Experiment with salmon for breakfast? Let me know. I read the comments and I love hearing about your experiences. In my next video, I'm going to reveal the dinner foods that work while you sleep to reduce inflammation overnight. What you eat in the evening has a powerful effect on how you feel the next morning, and most people are making critical mistakes. You won't want to miss that one. Remember, you have more control over inflammation than you might think. Those aching joints and that morning stiffness don't have to be your permanent reality. The right foods, eaten consistently, can make a remarkable difference. And it all starts with tomorrow's breakfast. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.